Extraordinary Nobodies was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
You know, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this.
But what people don't know is I'm super left wing. I volunteered to work for Black Lives Matter, helped Hawk Newsom try to craft some useful policies that the right and the left would agree on. Stuff like body cams.
He's pretty self-absorbed and pretty much feels that he's superior to everyone else around him. So Scott actually, I think, wanted to play Dogbert at one point, or thought perhaps he would when he wasn't finding somebody. And I think he has a similar sensibility to the character.
He kind of channels all of my own worst instincts. He gets to say the things that I'd like to say, but I'm afraid of retribution. But a small dog can say those things and get away with it.
They say only the good die young.
What's up, people? Another episode of the Extraordinary Nobodies. I'm your Lord KDot, and this is, well, the nose is looking a bit better because we could see it, and it doesn't look as horrific as it did last time. Needed to damn near put, like, a warning on the last episode.
It's no longer sending the villagers fleeing in terror. Now they just stare. Yeah.
Have you had to explain what happened to anyone?
Yeah, people in my recovery group, but I explain it. I make jokes about it, right? Like, I'm in town to watch my aunt's dogs. The introduction went less than ideally. Yeah, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think they think you're lying because it's a recovery group?
What? No, I'm pretty sure they think I'm telling the truth. Yeah.
Like, fucking drunk. He probably
drunk. Fell on his ass and scraped up his nose. Yeah. They don't know me, so it's possible, right? It's because I'm from DC, so my normal recovery group all knows me. But in this case, although it does not look very much, maybe you can't see so well in video, it does not look much like a scrape. It definitely looks like sharp objects went down. Yeah.
And I fucked up the nose surgery part of your Brazilian butt lift. I'm sorry, bud.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's all good. It'll heal in time.
It's a minor delay.
All right, so slow ass news week. So what I have a list of topics to like go to when we have nothing. Mm-hmm. So one is like airplane travel. Because
we can start with that because the airplane travel. So yeah,
no, we won't. We're gonna save that. That's one of those ones where we really don't have anything.
We should discuss my amazing intro to St. Louis, not with my nose, but with the fact that I'm also getting over COVID, which I almost certainly caught from the airplane ride. I think you gave it to the people on the plane.
I probably gave it to everybody on the plane. There are 3 or 4 people dead across the Midwest because of you.
No.
You know, the health is not a priority in a lot of aspects of where you're traveling.
No, it's certainly not masking or vaccination. But yeah, no. No.
All right, so there's that.
Wait, a real quick story.
What?
So I was like, I was talking to some my old Uber driver coming home from the meeting, and I was explaining to him my recovery meeting, and I was explaining to him how I'd gotten over. Yeah, no, I was explaining to him how I'd gotten over COVID and it sucked, and this was the second time I had it, and I was like, "Don't worry, I tested negative, I'm fine." And then he was like,
"Yeah, that's a goddamn pandemic."
Yeah, and he goes over and he goes, "Yeah, I don't want to get it again. I'm real careful about my mask and my hand sanitizer because I got it once real bad. I was sick for 2 weeks. I had to go to the hospital, and I'm unvaccinated." I'm like, okay. I'm just immediately all my sympathy for him evaporated. It was just like, well, I'm not sympathetic for you. You decided not to get the vaccine, so you were sick for 2 weeks.
How do you know he's not allergic?
What?
What if he's allergic? Did he tell you what his policy was on vaccines? I mean, he could have had a doctor tell him, as some people did, get a doctor tell him you shouldn't have it.
I'm running with the statistics here, Canadian. Mm-hmm. Chances of that, minuscule. Chances of deciding that he didn't want to get the vaccine, like so much higher. Like if we were giving odds to that, like 1,000 to 1 odds, maybe that would probably be too generous, to be honest.
I'm just saying. Have you ever heard? You know David Foster Wallace, right?
Yes.
Author of Infinite Jest.
Yes.
Well, he gave a commencement speech like 10, 15 years ago. It's a video that I watch maybe once a month, And basically, the gist of the video is everybody's natural default setting, right? So you can be someone who, all right, you're at the checkout line of the grocery store, and the cashier has a terrible fucking attitude. She's ringing things up really aggressively. It's
Why does it
all
have
right,
to be a
what
she?
are you bringing us? This is just the example I give. Equal opportunity. It could have just been a guy, but I just used a chick. Yeah, why you gotta get hammed down on the gender, man? It's just goddamn.
It sounds like you're just assuming grocery store bag people are ladies. But continue on.
If you're a man and you're doing it, you're a failure. No, I'm checking. I'm so the aspect of so she's doing a terrible job, right?
Yeah.
And you go up to the counter and you're like, you're just off of work, you're in the fucking grocery store, you just want to get some shit. You can do one of two things. You could do what you did in this last case with your Uber driver, which is assume the absolute worst. This piece of shit doesn't deserve this job. They need to put a smile on their face. What the fuck is wrong with them? And you might even show her a little bit of attitude when you get up there. Or what you could do is do yourself and the world a favor and think, oh, man, she's probably having a really rough day. Like, I don't know if her dog died this morning. Like, you know what? I'm going to assume, because I don't know for sure, that she's having something that I can completely empathize with and be okay with. And you know what happens when you can do that? You walk away from the situation not feeling so negative, not being so negative, not pouring negative energy in. And as a matter of fact, when you go up to her with a smile on your face, not keeping in the negative energy, you might put a smile on her face. I'm just saying.
I've seen you get into shouting matches with customer service people.
No, you've not. You've never seen that. You've never seen that.
Yeah.
Give me one example of you actually seen that. Give me an example of you actually seeing it. You've never seen that in your life.
You're right. I probably haven't seen
lying.
it. I've heard you discuss it. Yes.
Give me an example of something I've done as far as yelling at customer service people. I don't do that.
Where were you? It was, you described it to me and I remember it. It was at a government.
I remember it. It's described to you.
I vividly remember it. But I can't think of the example right now. But I'm sure you've done it. I'm sure you've done it.
Bullshit anecdote.
There's
one time that ever happened. There's one time it ever happened. I remember the one time it ever happened. The one time it ever happened was in a mattress furniture store in Fredericksburg, Virginia, with my ex-wife. It was the first time she had ever seen me explode. But I exploded not because I was necessarily trying to stay in negative energy, but it was because they were being dismissive and I wanted to create a disturbance for everyone in the store. So they had to pay attention and deal with me because they were going to fuck us over. So I was like, you know what? Strategically, this is the time. Only few times you could be the angry black man in this sort of situation. They weren't white. They were like Middle Eastern. So that gives me a leg up. And then it was like, it was good to go. So this Fredericksburg account show up. It's like, all right, Negro terrorists. What are we dealing with? And I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm fucking fine. I wouldn't do it the white.
Yeah. I can't think of a time recently that I've shouted at a customer service representative. I've shouted at a person on the street recently. You've heard that story about walking my dog and the guy being an asshole. But the only time I got firm,
old man had crutches. He had crutches, and he had a blind dog. What would I say? The blind eye seeing dog.
Normal golden retriever.
So he's walking down the street. He's saying "excuse me" as he's walking by because he's having a rough day. And then you just kicked his little walker away from him and said, "Get the fuck away from me, old man. You should have done better in life. I don't understand why you can't see and why you're using the crutch. You should be better. Because fuck you.
About that story.
I'm better than you, piece of shit."
But the only time I recently got firm was maybe about 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Did you say get firm?
Get firm. Like actually like show like some emotion, right? And it was
when you say get firm, it just sounds like have a backbone.
Yeah. No,
you didn't let people walk all over you today? Cool.
My normal strategy with customer service representatives is overwhelm them with kindness, even if I think they're fucking terrible at their job.
I've heard you be extremely dismissive to people in the service industry.
What do you mean? I say thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
No, you
thank
say
you, man.
you say thank you like it's a checklist of things you're going through, not a conversation you're having with somebody.
Well, of course. Yeah, you're right, because my strategy with customer service people is to get is to be incredibly polite and minimize the interaction. Get it done as quickly as possible, because that's what I.
Motherfucker, you're on the phone with me. How many times do I hear you placing your orders, picking up your order, all kinds of shit, and it's.
But after you always hear me say, "Thank you very much. Have a good day." Yeah, always.
There's no heart in it. There's no heart in it.
It's pro forma. It is. It's just a thing you say normally. Yeah.
Don't say it unless you mean it.
Get the fuck out of here. That's like saying hello unless you mean it. No, of course there is. It's just a nice thing to say.
It's like saying hello.
What do you mean?
Hello,
it's like, when I say hello to some random person on the street, I don't. That's not true. In American culture, have a nice day is the same thing as goodbye. How are you doing is the same thing as hello.
You are. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're not getting better than. I think you're better than that. To at least mean it when you tell somebody to have a nice day. For it to come from the heart. Have a nice day. See, that's the one thing the black guys we have over you guys 100%, without a doubt. Have you seen two black guys that strangers interact?
Many times.
Most of our, but you see how you doing, man? Oh, I'm good. Just living. Just living. Or man, I'm trying to be like you. I see. There's an interaction that happens like a brotherhood, and we mean every fucking word that we say in that interaction. It's nice. It feels good. It can make your day sometimes, because we all look at each other as black men and like, I know you had a stressful day, brother. I know. So in this mini interaction I have human to human with you, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it real. We're going to make you feel this. And that's what we do to help each other out get through the day. But you can't do that to your motherfucking servant. Hey, yeah, thank you. Hello. Yeah, whatever. Get. Yeah.
No, I don't say it monotone. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. I put tone into the voice.
It never matches any tone that anybody's having on the reciprocating.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
It's straight up checklist.
It is checklist stuff. But it's the checklist that greases societal interactions.
No,
there is no need. It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Ruined it.
You know why I know that? Because I'm on the other end of that many times a day of that little "have a nice day" from the cashier. And they don't mean it either, and it doesn't bother me at all. It's politeness. I'm on that all the time.
Why do it?
What?
It's not polite. Why do it? Why do it?
It's the oil that greases.
No, it does not.
Civil interactions. That's what it does.
It's bullshit. Yeah. No, it's bullshit. It's what it is. It's bullshit. It's what Americans do.
Go to the Netherlands. That's how they do it.
Performative nonsense.
Go to the Netherlands.
Performative nonsense. What about the Netherlands?
Have you been to the Netherlands? You don't say any of that stuff.
I've never been to the Netherlands.
Okay, so the Netherlands.
Good for them.
Dutch, they don't do any of that stuff. If you ask how you're doing,
high are they on happiness? How high are they?
Very high, very high. And if you want to change societal standards so we don't do that, but also you have to remember that the Dutch are not going to do any. It's like every interaction is quick and direct, like immediate. Like there's the clerks don't say thank you, have a nice day. It's just you check out and then you go. You don't say it either.
Here's what I'm assuming. Every once in a while. Because look, people are saying, look, we're going about our normal stuff. We're doing normal things. You don't need to say thank you for me doing my job. I understand that. Get that completely, right? So that's what they're doing. But every once in a while, I'm sure that there's somebody that looks at somebody in the Netherlands and says, it looks like this person's not having a great day. And might drop a, you know what? Have a nice day. And you know what it does? Probably means the world to the person receiving it.
You're right. It probably means a lot more because it's not done thing. But you're not criticizing me. You're criticizing society as a whole. Yeah.
No, I'm criticizing you as being a part of the society in which we are in which you're continuing to go. I don't have those interactions with people. But I get compliments all the time from motherfuckers that say, yo, it's all kind of over the top. I've made friends with so many cashiers just because when I show up and I'm doing, if there's not a long line, because I'm not going to be that asshole, right? Because we have to work within the framework of society.
I hate you.
We got to work within the framework of the society. I got to look out for everybody around me, right? But if I'm in fucking Safeway or Giant 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, when I like to do my grocery shopping, there's nobody else in it.
You and 10 other people in the whole store. Yeah.
The only people that are there are the young moms wearing leggings where you know they didn't work out, but it's okay because eye candy while I'm getting my fucking groceries. Amazing shit, okay? And you get propositioned every once in a while, especially being black and Virginia. Just start out there.
Yeah.
Amazing time to meet people. But if I'm all by myself and I walk up, say, "Hey, how you doing this morning? You been busy? Yeah. How much longer you got in here? I hope you have an easy that." And it's like, and then sometimes they stop and we have a conversation. Sometimes it goes wrong. There's a Safeway in Virginia that I avoid one cashier because this happened. This is 2021. Pandemic's still in everybody's mind. We're still kind of wearing masks every once in a while, but this is the point we're starting to take them off, right?
Okay.
And she went on a fucking rant about 9/11.
Ooh, here we go. Here you go.
Her son's in the military, and he's telling her this, that, and the other. And at that point, this is where you realize you're dealing with someone who's not on the same wavelength of where we are in society. Okay?
Yeah.
This person's beyond something. So you know what I do at that point? I need to remove myself from this situation. So that's when the platitudes come in. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe that.
We've all had those interactions.
Oh wow.
I opened myself up to far fewer of them by not inviting them. But you know who you sound like? Exactly like who does it? And it kills me because he does it all the fucking time. Pat Nichols. Jesus Christ, he does that with everybody.
Different beast.
He does that all the time. I swear to God. And he wants to talk to the cashier for fucking 5 minutes all the time. The waiter is a 15-minute conversation. Yes.
We're talking about your father. There's a difference here. The difference between me and your dad when it comes to this aspect is that he's going into any establishment that he goes into with a deficit because of how fucking particular his order is anywhere he goes. I need you guys to give me a Coke. It needs to be 2 parts Diet Coke, 1 part
regular Coke. It offends me that he orders that. Yeah. I'm always just like, Jesus Christ, shame.
No, Pat Nichols is doing that because he doesn't want to get somebody to piss in his fucking soda because he's sick and tired of his shit.
And then, and his orders at the goddamn restaurant aren't like quick recommendations. He wants to go through every fucking item on the menu.
It's a different beast.
But he does that even at the goddamn grocery store.
He's doing it for self.
He does that at the grocery store, at every place.
Because there's probably been a time that he had some 20-minute conversation with somebody about a goddamn vegetable that was completely unnecessary. So he's coming in at a...
But first of all, he develops personal relationships with the cashiers at that thing. He knows their names, and he knows the names of their children, which, again, I think is weird, but that's his style. And it kills me. It kills me every time it happens. And it kills me, but first of all, because I think it's weird. It's probably his Midwestern upbringing, right? That shit's way more common in small town Midwestern. Yeah. But also because also I don't enjoy being in the grocery store, so I want to get out of there as fast as possible.
That's the thing, is that it is completely shown through you in your interaction. Because, like, I'm on the phone with you a lot of times where you're going to go do this thing, which, number one, I just find rude. Like, I want to hang out when I hear you ordering something because I'm like, this is the dude wearing AirPods in the goddamn store having a conversation, and everybody's got
you gave me far too much credit,
conversation. Motherfucker,
the phone up to my
oh god, it's so bad. That's so goddamn bad. It's like ordering shit and everything with a phone on is just you're fucked. So in that sort of area, it is clear as day to everyone involved. You are somebody that does not want to entertain anything. You just want your shit in the go. And I think what you need to do is adopt an approach that the Netherlands has and just keep your mouth shut. I think they'll respect it.
The respect is just a nod, move along. A nod, move along. Maybe.
Keep going.
Maybe. I mean, that would be my ideal thing. But society expects me to do so, and it costs me nothing to do what society expects, so I don't care.
It's the bullshit thing at the core of America, which is we cannot be honest with each other even in the smallest fucking interaction. We are lying in everything we do all day, every day, and being in thought that we're being forced to do things that we don't want to do.
So
every day,
tangentially,
all day, every day.
Did you? The New Yorker came out with its new etiquette guide maybe a month ago. Normally, I don't give a shit about this, but I was getting play on Twitter, and one of the things was, as you said, when you say "How are you doing today?" the only acceptable response, "How are you doing?" is good. That's essentially hello in America. It doesn't invite a long response.
It's bullshit. It's if that is the
you may not like it,
way
but
in
it's
which
a fact.
you're communicating.
Also frozen. Has your computer
literally
crashed
the
again?
first step in a communication with anyone, and you're doing that, we're fucked. We're fucked as a society. Also, you completely froze, and now I'm here by myself. I don't know what's happening. It's like literally since you went, since I made the complaint about your internet, mine is absolutely gone to shit. It's not that it's slow. It's not that it's doing anything crazy. It literally just shuts off.
Yes. So you know what that means, right? Everything you say is presumptively invalid, and therefore I win all arguments by default. No coming back from it. No coming back from it. You just have to take the L. You just have to take the L, lie down, and try to regroup. Once you get through a full episode without your internet crashing, then we can then we can talk. But until then, you know what? It's over. I win by default. It's like a forfeit.
I hate your guts. I hate everything about you. Can't stand you. I was on a hell of a rant, too. I liked my rant.
And I win by default. I just win.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
Internet crashes. Doesn't even matter.
The only thing it allowed me to do, though, the only thing
45-0 maybe, and you walk off the court before the game's over. Get that big L on the scoreboard for you.
Yeah, can't deny it. I can't deny it. Technically, yeah. It's a loss for people that want to make America actually great. Not great again, but great in the first place. And it's, it's
that was an excellent conversation, but let's move on to your other two topics. Which do you want to go first with?
I don't know. I didn't really look the vaccine.
The vaccine, not the vaccine, but the coronavirus. And
coronavirus, right? Not the vaccine, the coronavirus. So we're starting to hear blurbs that there's at least one government agency,
Department of Energy,
Department of Energy is saying that there is a possibility that that COVID-19 did originate from a lab leak in Wuhan, China.
Moderate amount of confidence. So they think it's the most likely scenario. Other government agencies have said that that's not the case, but nonetheless, it's big news because it's the first time. It's because Joe Biden ordered the review shortly after he took office of the origins of COVID, and obviously we're never going to know the full picture, or not for a long time, because the Chinese are fucking covering up their asses, like, to the nth degree, right? Like, we could definitely, with a high degree of confidence, figure out where this thing came from if the Chinese weren't secretive and covering up and almost certainly destroying evidence, right? But
yeah, of course.
But we can't. But I will say, you made a good point when we discussed this earlier, which is when this theory started getting floated during the Trump administration, I dismissed it for two reasons. One, because it was floated along with a bunch of racist nonsense about how China was evil and Chinese people were getting us sick, and I want to be clear, China is evil, the Chinese people, not the government, because the government is actually evil.
No, there was a rumor that the Chinese government was loading planes full of Chinese people to come over to the United States.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was wrapped up. And then the other reason was the messenger, right? I didn't believe any fucking thing Trump said, because it's like the boy who cried wolf. He lied with every goddamn word. When he occasionally told the truth, I presumed it was a lie. And it turns out he may be right, and also because it fit his narrative of China bad so well that I was skeptical on that front. But it turns out there's a good chance. Like, I'd still say 60-40, it wasn't from the lab leak, but 40% is a big fucking chance, right? Like, that's not nothing at all.
Yeah, I actually think the 40%, you're giving it more credit than the report
Do you think
any
so?
of the news that I'm hearing out. Just because, like, look.
Well, I've read some other things about it, and people I respect do say, like, this has the hallmarks.
No, of course. Here's what you know. You know, if you're a legitimate scientist, if you don't outright dismiss anything, you just say the evidence has not shown that to us yet. There's nothing I've seen that's shown that to us yet, but I leave the possibility open for it to be the case. That's how you know you're dealing with somebody that's actually telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Until they know for sure, everybody wanted to float the wet market thing because that's when the last two major viruses came out.
Yeah.
Wet market, where they you have
they have the live animals.
Meat there you got live animals next to dead or meat. Cross contamination, all kinds of shit ends up happening. People go home,
tons
and
of
then
people
you get
wedged into small areas. Yep.
Right, a lot of dripping fluids all over the goddamn place. It's not a good scene. So
not hygienic.
Not hygienic at all. But the same way that we were talking about when we were talking about the jab. And the conversation about mask and everything, is that what I think ended up happening is the people, the kind of the way that you're saying the boy who cried wolf when it comes to Trump, right? Even though I look and I say that Trump did tell the truth about a lot of things, it is, you kind of, when Trump talks, you know whether or not he's lying or telling the truth pretty immediately.
Man, I don't know. I just assume it's unless I know otherwise, I just assume it's a lie. Like if it's if he's positing a fact, right? Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing: is that you start noticing with the tone and stuff he does, he's not sure of almost anything.
That's
when
true.
he says something with complete confidence that sounds like something you'd have to read about, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. There's that, right? If it's some bravado about himself, braggadocious about himself, you can chalk it up to a lie. Pretty much, right?
Just, anything he says about the election, it's a lie. Yeah,
that's a complete fucking lie, right? But that has to do with him and his ego.
Him and his ego, right?
Trump,
he can't
right?
lose. Yeah, for sure.
He can't lose. He's Trump. But the thing is that on the other side, when you had an American populace, like I said, people that say shitty platitudes to each other in grocery stores are the same people that aren't educated enough about anything. And what you end up having to do is you go too far tilt one way when you should be moderate in the way that you respond to hearing craziness. You should be, hey, stick to this, do whatever. But what ended up happening is the people that should have been trusted voices on this topic went way too far the other way to try to counteract it, right? Like if they have extremes on this side, then we need to be extreme on this side to get people in the middle to kind of understand what we're saying.
I heard that all the time, right? No chance. It was definitely a thing. Which again, at the time, I believed largely that it was almost certainly came from the Wuhan market. My opinion has shifted over time as more evidence has come out, and specifically more people that I've trust, like people in the public sphere, have said, yeah, there is a good chance that this was actually a Chinese fuck up. Which it also helps that confirms.
The only people I really trust are the ones that haven't changed their opinion on it because there's no new evidence. There's no new information for them to go through.
So what I was going to say is, I'm sure there's some new evidence, very minimal, but
nothing confirmed. There's nothing confirmed because even in the report, they're showing the agency's classified information the public doesn't have.
Yes.
And what they're doing through the agencies now, the agencies are kind of pouring through it and saying what it is they have. And then there's even where some of the agencies might have additional information and other ones don't. I don't know why you'd pick the Department of Energy to have more information than another.
That's so weird that it's the Department of Energy, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this is why I'm saying that I still go with the likelihood that it probably did not come from the Wuhan lab. If I had to put money on it,
that's
just
what I would
because
do too.
If I'm looking at majority of the agencies, they're all saying, no, we still haven't seen anything that shows that. But the thing was that even back then, we talked about it on the phone. March 11th, 2020, me and you were in Georgetown, D.C. I had to do a gig where I was taking photos of a brand new menu and a bunch of stuff for a bar. And we were there when they canceled basketball. The bar was really fucking empty because all the bars were starting to dry up at that point because everybody started getting the
and then we got the notification that everything, like literally, we all got the same like ding ding on our phone that the whole world, the whole country was setting. Yeah.
I took you to Matt Market. I took you home. I went and I parked in the Wells Fargo parking lot because I had to talk to somebody on the phone. And I get the alert to Tom Hanks. I call you back. It was like, Tom Hanks has it.
Yeah, Tom Hanks.
And we're like, well,
and Reed Wilson, yeah.
But what I always remember about that night is that I remember telling you, because there's a video that's just ingrained in my brain as far as the pandemic and what the first time that I knew, oh shit, because I was a Lyft driver. I was a Lyft and Uber driver. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was on the front lines if there was anybody who was going to get sick fucking first. Probably one of us going on an airport run or something like that, right?
You were the bus driver.
I was that.
Yeah.
I stopped driving like about 2 or 3, like 4. Now, I have the date, but it's like less than a week before March 11th. I stopped driving. I was like, I'm done. And it was because I remember because you remember they started evacuating schools, telling all the kids to go home.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of that. I was taking a lot of the students to go pack up the stuff if they lived in town. And then
you were taking like UMD students or something.
UMD, Towson. I was taking a lot of Towson students. So what I remember was seeing the video of a Chinese couple having their bags stripped from them. They had like backpacks like they were prepared to go somewhere. They got thrown in a metal box on the back of a fucking flatbed.
Yep.
And then you see another video from up an apartment. They're screaming from inside the fucking locked metal box. And then they drove off. And I was like, look, there is nothing normal about this. And that's when I knew immediately that it's a fucking problem. So, and I also knew that if you're doing that as far as China and also telling the rest of the world, hey, it's no big deal. We're good. We got this thing kind of covered. It's all right. Nobody needs to worry. Nobody needs to stress about it.
The downplaying of it, it was literally, you're right, because it was like downplaying, and then it's all going to burn. It's all going to burn.
Right. It made no
that's
sense.
Because, I mean, a part of that, honestly, was Trump. He was terrified of what it would do to his reelection campaign, right?
Well, we were
even though statistically, most leaders who went through COVID, the ones that did a good job, which were a lot of them, were reelected with big margins, right? If they did a good job.
Except for New Zealand.
What?
Jacinda Barrett, or whatever her fucking name was?
She resigned.
She had to yeah, why? She had no chance of winning.
Was it because she had no chance of winning?
They hate her there. Yeah, her popularity has gone just.
I assume it wasn't because of COVID. It was something
It
else.
has a lot to do with it. The lockdown measures in New Zealand got a lot of people really pissed off. They thought they went way too far.
They may have gone way too far. Them in Australia, I know, were kind of like the zero COVID states because they're big islands without huge populations.
Right. So it's like, if you do that, then we can make sure that we don't have anybody dying from this thing. But there were a lot of people that said they lost their livelihoods and everything because of it.
I mean,
there's a whole other thing.
I'd be furious as well. Yeah.
But there's a whole discussion about that and the response to the pandemic and all kinds of stuff that we don't have to get into right now. But just like the mask, people went way too far the other way in hyping up the hyperbole and thinking that they knew what was happening. And you had a bunch of other idiots that would just echo those people's sentiments and then shit all. Do you remember how many times I know from me, how many times did you get sent the pandemic video?
Once by you.
Oh, yeah, it might have been me. But I had gotten it like 5 or 6 times.
you were showing me because you were like, this isn't real, obviously, but this is like, something that people are talking about on the internet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't get sent by anybody else. Yeah.
I had a bunch of friends or anything because they know that I like to read stuff and I'm usually pretty plugged in with things.
You mean watch stuff?
Hey, what do you think about this? I read stuff too, just not books, you asshole. You know this about me. I read a lot of things. It's not
listen to stuff.
Even when but here's the thing. Even that, technically, I'm right because I have subtitles on. So go fuck yourself. All right?
Do you?
And I'm reading on the screen. I put subtitles. I put subtitles and closed captioning on all my television programming, unless it's live.
Is it because you're trying to learn to read?
No, I actually think that you're doing yourself a disservice without it.
He's trying to learn to read.
Fuck you. You're doing yourself a disservice without it.
He's following along.
Have you never watched The Wire?
He's on the Floyd Mayweather play.
Have you never watched The Wire with subtitles?
I've turned definitely subtitles on for individual scenes, yes.
The best thing about The Wire that is underrated is the conversations the people on the street are having that you can't hear, but the subtitles know. So when you hear motherfuckers in the background, oh, they shot that nigga head off. Like, it's just, there's some ignorant ass shit being said. And David Simon talks about it, they're like, yo, we pumped in this and we want like the real sounds of Baltimore. And it is some of the funniest shit ever. Like when Omar died, the conversation on the street around it, oh, some kid shot him in the head, man. Oh, fuck. And that Korean bitch. And it was just like, whoa. It's just like, you're doing yourself a disservice without subtitles on. If you can do subtitles and headphones when watching things, life changing.
I get distracted by the subtitles. I cannot help but read them, and I would prefer not to read them. Oh, sorry, Ducky.
It's kind of the point. You got to read them in order to reading while you watch.
Yeah, but I prefer not to read them if I don't have to. Now, if it's a foreign film,
so how are you with foreign?
Love them, but that's different.
So is one to assume that if you're watching a foreign film, Brendan might need to watch it twice?
No, I only watch it once with subtitles. But if you're saying,
it sounds like you can't.
If you're saying, do I miss like various facial interactions because I'm reading the subtitles? Yes, I mean that happens.
You can't do both.
I
guess I'm just training myself to do it.
What I do is I just immediately read the subtitles really fast and then look up. So if it's in the first like second, maybe depending on how
trying
much
to
subtitles
speed read it.
I do speed read it. It's not trying to. I speed read it and then move up. So it's
like you're trying to prove to yourself that you're smart.
No, it's just how I naturally do it.
You put any words in front of me, I'm gonna do it fast.
I haven't even thought about it like that.
I gotta be the first to fucking read this thing.
I have many talents. Multitasking is down at like below the floor level talents for me. So, yes, I divide it into 2 tasks. What?
Because you have autism.
Yeah, multitasking, very bad. So you know what? I split it up into 2 single tasks that I can do consecutively. Yeah. But I'm never going to do it with
autism. Autism is a spectrum. Everyone's on it. While most of us are way down here, you're somewhere around here.
Yeah. Lots of people are bad at multitasking. And the other one is what was another issue of that? But it's even worse for the dubbing, because then the dubbing, I focus in completely on the fact that their mouth isn't making the same sounds as what are coming out of the TV. So I miss like the entire thing. So I'm just like staring. What's going on? Is your house burning down over there?
Let it rock.
Okay.
Yeah, there's smoke and fire in the kitchen.
Okay, so continue. We got off the vaccine. You're right. Everyone went too far, and then many of them are refusing to come back to the middle because they hated Trump and they didn't agree with the racism. Yeah, I mean, there are good reasons, but, it's still, they went way off to the extreme.
But you lose credibility.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the thing that I don't think people understand, is that you lose credibility by trying to be the counter to the other side. Like, there's a way to do it politically and with policies to be counter to the other side.
Yeah.
Like, I'm damn near a communist. The policies that I believe in are pretty much, look, I get socialism and I want to be cute about it, but I'm basically a communist. Fidel Castro is a hero of mine. So there's certain aspects of stuff for me. Politically, I can be all the way over here and then also realize America's not ready for what it is that I want just yet, even though I think it'll do us all better. But then beyond that, I also know that if you, especially with people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, do not need to take these hard ground stances based on people that they think they trust, that they're not even fully comprehending what the fuck it is they're saying. And liberals, I think, are more guilty of that.
I like nuance in discussions. I just think nuance in the political arena is tough. And by that, I mean very, very tough. But let's move on.
Yeah, but you got to be better. You got to work to be better. Otherwise, you stay the same. Like, it takes a day to make the choice to flip the switch and do something other than what you're doing. And if you continue to do it, kick the can down the road, it never fucking ends. I hate this. It's just immediacy shit. We got to do what we need to do right now to get through this particular thing right now. Otherwise, the world's going to end. And then we never get around to doing all the things we actually have to do to change the world. It's fucking stupid.
Very true. The immediacy bias is terrible. Yep.
Were you ever a Dilbert fan?
No. I mean, I've definitely read the cartoon a number of times, but
there was an animated show. There was a cartoon that was on. Did you watch that?
The only cartoon I can say I'm even a little bit of a fan of, is the Boondocks, and I was much more of a fan of the show than the cartoon. I mean, that's it.
You mean the comic?
The comic. I'm sorry. The comic. So yeah. So the Boondocks, the 2 panels that they had in the Washington Post, like every week, right? Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
I read the comics every week.
But I enjoyed the show a lot more.
Off the top of your head,
the show is
who wrote the Boondocks?
What?
Who wrote the Boondocks?
You told me before. I can't remember what's his name.
Get it. Yeah, you're a fan of something you don't even fucking know about. Aaron McGruder. All right.
Aaron McGruder.
So the maker of Dilbert, Scott Adams. That's his name, right? Mm-hmm. Scott Adams.
I had to look that up.
He was doing some sort of fucking YouTube video or something.
Live stream.
Where he's going over where he's going over a Rasmussen poll that polled 1,000 people, at least 1,000 black people, and then like 1,000 other people, and then asked them the question.
It was 1,000 people, and a small portion of it were black people.
Okay, fair enough. But of the black people, they were asked the question, "Is it okay to be white?" And was it 52% of black people in this poll said no?
No, that's not true.
It's not okay. What was it, the other way around?
48% said yes. 52%.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. 42, 50.
No. 48% said it's okay to be white. 52 either said it's not okay to be white, it's or they don't know. And the biggest portion was they don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
So there was still a sizable proportion, like slightly less than a quarter, of the black people
Right.
polled said it wasn't okay to be white. So,
but he took that and went ham. He took that and went ham and talked about how he believes in segregation, basically, and that all white people need to get as far away from black people because black people don't like white people. And no matter how hard he himself, who was a member of Black Lives Matter and did everything he could to try to help black people, have realized it's a lost cause, and the only thing he needs to do is get as far away from them as possible. It was nuts. It was awesome.
It was very, very insane rant. Very
it was
delusional.
amazing.
First, let's address the obvious thing that he got the data wrong when he said it was less than a quarter. Second, the Rasmussen poll. Rasmussen is not a good pollster. Let's just throw it out there right there. It's a bad pollster.
Fuck polls.
It's not good. It's historically inaccurate and significantly biased towards conservatives, Republicans. And third, and here's the thing I didn't even know until I read articles about it. It's okay to be white is apparently like a rallying cry for white nationalists. I didn't actually know that, but apparently it is. So there's like subtext to it's okay to be white, which again I had no idea about until I read the articles. Did you know about that? It's okay to be white was a rallying cry for white nationalists. Sorry, Mr. Wagons.
No, not it. It's my fucking internet keeps clunking out, and that's what's so frustrating about it is that like it. So this is the second time it's happened on this episode, and I'm probably going to leave both of them in. I can see how slow your video is uploading on my end, which shows me like your internet speed is trash still. But I can't say shit because more important than speed is it even existing. And
it's working. Yes.
Right. And it's
Being
just
connected,
choosing not to do it. I'm going to blame racism in Baltimore's crackling infrastructure more than anything. Probably is the reason why it's happened to me. But
yep,
very, very frustrating. All right, you were talking about all the ways in which Scott Adams got it wrong. Continue.
Yeah, so I'll just go over them again. One was he got the stats wrong, right? It was only about, I think it was the actual number was 22% of the black portion of the sample said it's not okay to be white. The other said it was like we're uncertain. And two, it's Rasmussen, so it's a poll that leans conservative. I'm not sure if they're it leans pretty heavily conservative, so I'm not sure if they're whatchamacallit, what that means for the black sample, but it should be noted. And three, I didn't know this at all. Maybe you did, but it's okay to be white is like a rallying cry for white nationalists, which I had no idea until I read an article about it.
That to me was the entire framework of the entire conversation, and why I thought Scott Adams and everything he said about like being down with black people and this, that, and the other was such horseshit. Because how dare you say that you're like a part of Black Lives Matter, you've been involved in Black Lives Matter, you've done this, that, and the other, and you don't know what a dog whistle it is that it's okay to be white. They were printing them out as like bumper stickers and putting them all over college campuses. Like it was a big deal.
I had no idea.
It was a huge thing. And it was like, you say that, and it's so fucking nuts. So like, I appreciated hearing it just because I didn't think anybody had the balls to do something like that. Especially somebody who, I mean, it's Dilbert. So as mainstream as you really can be and say some shit like that, I guess, because it ain't like a lot of people fucking bending over backwards to watch Dilbert or to pick up a Dilbert comment. I'm sure the money's not flowing the way it used to.
No chance. Not with the decline of the newspaper industry. Yeah.
It felt like a desperation move. And then also when you see that a lot of the people that are usually there in his live stream or anything are typically on the other side of the vaccine issue that he's been historically, because he got vaccinated and everything. They've been calling him
pro-vaccine. Yeah.
Yeah. His nickname has been through his fans or people that follow him, Clot Adams, because they said that he's going to have blood clots because he got the vaccine. So it's batshit. But the thing is that what you can see is almost the mechanisms of a guy who realizes that his base and what he needs to do to generate any sort of internet clout has kind of gone away. So let me do something else. There is a base of people that do exist in the country that will listen to this kind of content and think I'm a free thinker and this, that, and the other, and will support me. And and those motherfuckers are keeping my pillow in business. Like that, like there is a strong base of people that'll put money into backing these guys because they think they're speaking truth to power or whatever the fuck it is that he's doing. And it's nonsense.
Or not afraid to speak the truth. Yeah, it's absolute nonsense. It's bullshit. If you said the other way, like, you know, black people might want to be careful around white people, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's a fair bit of evidence about that. Yeah, but
I'd even go as far as this. It should be that way. I'm a firm believer that black people shouldn't inherently love white people. Or not love. You love everybody on a human level, right? But there should be, and there does, I think, exist, at least a slight dislike for white people that should exist in the black community. And it's fair. I think it's fair. The same way I do think that for most white people, the idea that you hear that either a group of people want reparations or this, that, and the other, if you're a human being on a human level, the visceral reaction should be a slight annoyance. Can y'all just shut up? There should be a slight annoyance.
Of course.
Can y'all just shut the fuck up? Like, there's a look. If once again we talk about truth, right? It all starts with truth. The hello performative shit is not. If we can start at a baseline, I look at all white people, including my girlfriend and my best friends and all that, and I say there is something inherently that at least annoys me about you. And it's 'cause you're white, and it's just what it is. I can't help it. It is what I like. I have history. I have people not being aware of their privilege. I have to deal with what white people say on Martin Luther King every fucking year. There is shit that all y'all do that just annoys me. So the same way that I'm sure there are a lot of white people that have to feel affirmative action. When they hear it, their initial visceral reaction is, "Man, fuck them," but then they think about it.
My initial visceral reaction, obviously, I worked hard not to have it, and it went on. But it's not fuck them. It's man, why can't we just do us? Right? Exactly. Exactly. Like, you know, it's yeah. What? No, it's not. It's not. You know what? Exactly. It's like just let us go. But then you examine it more carefully, as every person should, and you're like, oh wow, they can't just let us do us because that's fucking them over, right?
Thank you.
Us doing us is fucking them over. Yeah, but it is the initial visceral reaction. It is, come on, just let us do us, right? Leave us alone. We don't want to have to worry about the fact that we've had unearned privilege our entire life. We don't want to have to think about the ways we've gotten ahead through social connections because of the color of our skin, through centuries of greater wealth accumulation, all that stuff. It's not fun to think about. No one likes to think about it. Well, that's not true. Some people like to think about it. But that's no excuse not to think about it. Yeah. No. Yeah, but you're absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. But I think it starts there with truth. And now, once you have that kernel of truth, then you're on at least, all right, even playing field to a certain degree, at least for the conversation, right? Another reason I kind of appreciated him saying that dumbass racist shit was I think that he was out. Look, he's not an idiot. Scott Adams is not a dummy.
He's clearly not an idiot.
He's not an idiot. He always says that he's playing like
interview.
We'll talk about that.
He's a troll.
Talk about that in a second. He's definitely a troll. But he always says he's playing like 4D chess or whatever the fuck it is that he's doing. Like he has reasons for saying everything it is he's saying. But there was a part of me that actually, when examining it on surface level, when he's saying white people get away from black people, I'm like, white people do that already in every way, shape, or form.
All the time.
And it's because he says it, does that make it worse than people actually doing it? Is it the fact that anytime white people move into a black neighborhood, is how can we make it white as soon as fucking possible?
Yes, because he said they should. Acknowledging the fact that it happens all the time while pointing out that it's a problem and needs to be addressed is not just okay, that's necessary. The saying we should do it, we should keep redlining is where I draw the line.
I get it. I get what you're saying, surface level. I understand. The word should pollutes the entire argument, right? But the idea, I'm fighting for this. But the idea is, if white people do this already, they do it with property values, they do it with not changing zoning, they do it with all these things that are actually real world shit. But don't admit under any circumstances, yeah, I don't want to be around poor black people. I don't want to be around poor people, period. I don't want to be around black people, period. I want to be around people like... Nobody admits or cops to it except for Adams over here. and everybody's still working with. So it's like, okay, do I give him credit for being more truthful than people that say one thing and act another way?
Lots of people won't even acknowledge it to themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And some people probably aren't even aware of it. Like, there is, it's not just societal, it is in part societal, right? Like the culture of our nation makes it easier to identify white as good and black as bad, right? But it's deeper than that, in that people, not just people, but animals and whatnot, they tend to cluster by people who look like them, right? You can understand why there's evolutionary reasons for that, right? The other animals are more likely to kill you than the ones that look like you.
All right, you're saying some shit that you make me uncomfortable, and I don't get uncomfortable.
Well, no, it's not that. You can see by back in the day,
Scott.
the one tribe of monkeys that looked Extraordinary would say
he's going to full Scott Adams.
The actual monkeys,
which
will congregate with the away from the other monkeys, because family ties, shared genetics mean they're less likely to get screwed over than that, right? You can understand that, right? It's the same. Taking it to the extreme, it's why you don't, if you're a monkey, go hang out with the lions, because your ass is going to get eaten.
We're talking about very different species compared to human race.
Yeah, slight degradations in color, but it is true. Yeah,
it sounds like you're
from what I've seen.
But everything you just said sounds like something Joseph Goebbels would say.
What? That's the naturalistic fallacy. Simply because something is natural in no way makes it good.
Okay.
Right? So just because there's an impulse to a biological impulse to gather with people who look like you, right, who are similar to you, doesn't mean that's good. There's no benefit to doing so in the modern world. That instinct evolved in a period of time for not human race, long before the humans evolved, and is carried over. That makes it a not very a useless evolutionary artifact.
Okay,
right?
Cool.
It's like what?
I feel like Robert Downey Jr. should pop in over my head in blackface and say, "Brendan, you never go to full Scott Adams." It sounds like.
Well, I didn't go to full Scott Adams. I explained why there is an impulse, not just societally, but deeper than that, to segregate. It's a bad impulse. It's a bad impulse. It's like the impulse in some people to rape and murder, right? That's very bad, right? Everyone agrees that's very bad.
Yeah, but I don't think that the impulse. I reject the fact that the impulse exists within people, as much as it's a. What I want to say. Of course,
chimpanzees rape and murder. Do you think that's bred? That what?
Hold on, what? No, hang on.
Chimpanzees rape and murder. Yeah, right.
Okay,
our closest ancestors.
So what?
So you think that somehow we evolved to not have any of those impulses whatsoever? That seems bizarre to me.
No, we need to eat, drink, survive, do all the kind of things. I mean, we have certain things in common with chimpanzees and other things. I'm saying that if I'm looking at it just from a racial color standpoint, there is always an initial reaction to something that's not necessarily look like you. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that culturally and historically, there are other stop clapping, whatever you're clicking.
Oh, sorry.
I think that those have a lot more to do with anything from an evolutionary standpoint or what it is that animals are doing.
Significantly more. Yeah.
Which is why Scott Adams went on the Hotep Jesus show. Which, if you guys are not familiar with Hotep Jesus, Hoteps, I remember you looked at the definition because I really wanted you to watch the video. Hoteps are basically the what it is that people consider, what it is that black people in the black community thought of as woke before everybody else sort of glommed onto it, which was this this desire to really speak truth, or what they believe is truth, to black history. And we're all descendants of kings and queens. You've heard that. Everybody's heard that to some degree. And what it is that, as far as history being completely whitewashed from blacks, and what it is that we've contributed to civilization and society, also being that they don't believe that the belief system goes a little crazy, at least when you first hear some things about it. But whatever. There's a guy who does it. He's been on Joe Rogan and everything. I find him infinitely entertaining. And sometimes he says some shit that I absolutely agree with. but Scott Adams goes on his show, Collection of Freethinkers, right? What did you think when you watched it? How far did you get?
Halfway through.
What were your thoughts?
I thought so. So first of all, there were definitely a lot of things I strongly disagreed with in there, but I didn't think of them as crazy. I just thought it was boring, to be honest. I thought it was boring.
Yeah, no, you need flashing light. You need a fucking Michael Bay movie and shit with your stuff or something.
Not a Michael Bay, but entertainment. There was very little laughter. In fact, none. I
was laughing all the way through that thing.
Maybe you were laughing at the ridiculousness of it, but I mean, like, did they both have some points in there? Yeah. So, I mean, the one time I did laugh was at the homeschooling nonsense that Hotep Jesus brings up.
I'd love to. I want to kind of dive into the Hotep shit just a little bit, but I'm going to ask you about something very specifically that Hotep Jesus brought up. The Scott Adams was kind of impressed by it. I don't know if you got far enough in the video about reparations. Did you watch the part about reparations?
Yeah, I watched the part of reparations. Yeah.
All right. So his idea, Hotep Jesus' idea, is that if reparations are going to be paid, the Democrats should pay for them. What do you think about that?
Because of the political things. No, fuck no. I think everybody should pay them. What?
But I'm saying
I think we should pay them too.
Right, but I'm saying if we can get started, if Democrats just say, fuck it, we'll get started. Like, it's something you could do that you actually think. Do you believe in reparations? I should ask first and foremost.
I believe in the general concept. I have no idea the particular way to structure it.
You want a congressional study so it never gets done?
No, because my initial response is direct cash payments. That's because I think we don't use enough direct cash payments and whatnot. But I have heard, like, actual people say direct cash payments are probably not the best way to go about it because it's likely to not build generational wealth.
So if there's a 10-year study that goes into the best way to pay out to
the congressional that actually made sense to me. The easiest way to kill something when they said it is to form a committee to study it.
Now let's say they form a committee. Let's say they form a committee. They actually study it. And then they they bring forth, here are the proposals that'll best suit the black community. And it's either like free college or no taxes or we're not going to say no taxes. Idea. We're not going to say no taxes. But we'll say
that idea. I was just like, motherfucker, rich person looking out for himself. Number one, Hotep Jesus.
Hey, no, I don't. I mean, if they told me that because you're black and you're this percentage, you ain't got to pay this much taxes. I mean, I ain't saying no.
No, of course you're not saying no, but you know who would benefit the most? The rich black people, the people who need it the least.
I'm not denying that, but that's all of it. So leave us alone. Look, here's the thing. If you're black and you're rich, you've overcome so many fucking odds. You deserve your tax-free fucking money. Here's payback for all. The problem is,
here's so many black people don't pay a lot of taxes.
I get it, but that's infinite payback for every fucking Rockefeller and every Kennedy and every bootlegging fucking family that's part of the fucking millionaire elite.
Hate it.
I'm cool with black
direct
people
cash payments. You know what? You give somebody $50,000 a year for a number of years. You know what the rich black people do? They say, well, who cares? But most black people who are, of course, have much higher rates of poverty. That $50,000 does a lot of fucking makes a huge fucking difference in their life.
So let's say direct cash payments is what they say the option is, right? Yeah. Now, if there was a proposal, if a Democrat stood up and said, well, you know what, guys? How about we take care of it? How about we show the Republicans that fuck them. If they don't want to do this, we're going to do it because it's the best thing for black America. You're not stepping up to do that as a Democrat? You think the rest should pay?
I think everyone should pay. But yes, I would vote for that proposal.
As a Democrat, would you pay reparations knowing the Republicans weren't?
Yeah, I hate it, but I pay it.
And that's it. And my thing is that is something tangible. It's actually tangible. If Democrats and liberal white people, I get it, but if Democrats and liberals, and I want to get into why you hate it, but if Democrats and liberals are serious about we are the party or we are the people that actually care about black people, then put your fucking money where your mouth is. And I thought that I never heard of anyone proposing that, which is what that to me alone was worth the entire hour-long fucking conversation between Hotep and Scott Adams. Was someone actually saying, hey, if Democrats want to be about the shit, then how about they say, let's foot the fucking bill? And at that particular point in time, do you know what a lot of Republicans will say? Well, we thought you guys were kind of full of shit.
Well, you know this is a thought experience because even if you could get 100% of Democrats to agree, it's unconstitutional. It's not possible. It violates the 14th Amendment.
No, here's the thing. As a Democrat, you know what you do? You'd opt in. It'd be an optional thing. What they basically say is
that might pass legal scrutiny.
The Democratic Party
you would raise no money.
I get it. And that's what I'm saying. Is the white people full of shit? So like that's the whole thing is that if the Democratic Party said, "Hey, us as Democratic congressmen, women, we are saying we are starting a Black American reparations fund that is going to be led by the Democratic Party. Here are the numbers at which you should pay if you want to truly help. And we would like to see 100% of Democrats do this, but once again, it's optional for you." And then that was the clout thing. That was the thing that everybody... Because here's the thing. If you do that, if you sign up and you're actually paying with your hard-earned money to actually get money, direct cash payments to Black, guess what you get? I don't care what performative shit you're doing. You can say anything on MLK Day. You can do whatever the fuck it is you want to do. Because you know what you did? We even might call it the N-word pass. We might call it a nigga pass. Because if you do it, you get free fucking reign to say whatever loony shit you want to say. Because guess what you just did? You proved you care about the fucking cause.
Or you're just doing it for the N-word pass. That's why I don't.
Who gives a shit? As long as Black people are getting money, then what's the point? What does it matter? All the rest of it's performative nonsense. I like the idea of forcing people to put the money where their mouth is, even though reparations, even amongst Democrats, polls terribly. Because no one wants to do anything. No one wants to actually do anything.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's not. No one wants to pay their money.
No. No one wants to actually do anything. That's why everyone can hop on Twitter. Everyone can hop on Facebook. Everyone can hop on Instagram. Everyone can have a fucking podcast. It ain't that difficult. But when push comes to shove, you actually got to do something that involves leaving your house and going out into the community to fix something. Is the moment.
I'm going to be honest. I did a couple of the Black Lives Matter marches, and I felt good about myself, but I don't know if we made a huge amount of progress.
No, because it's all dumb. Like, that's the thing. It's all fucking...
I don't use social media, so I didn't do any of the social media advocacy.
To me, the point of going to one of the protests is to use the same energy that you feel around people that are supposed to have your same thought process, and then take that energy...
They were fun.
But it's the same way that people go to church, right? I still like going to church every once in a while just because of that community feeling you get, right? You leave church regardless of whatever
wonderful community, and especially if they have good music too,
Right. When you're at a protest and you got everybody a like sound mind, and you start communicating and talking about plans and what you're going to do, and then you leave to go actually do the shit that actually makes the changes. It's my biggest issue with American protests is that there's hardly the number of people that are willing to take the steps beyond the protest dramatically drop off. It's terribly drop off. Like we're so shit about it. When you hear stories from I hear stories from my mom in Jamaica about when they would protest stuff, or mutual friend of ours, Josue, at the bookstore. Did I ever tell the story on the pod about what happened in El Salvador?
That was protesting with guns.
No. And when Josue was younger, the government of El Salvador said that they were going to raise the bus rates a certain percentage.
Yes, you told me about this. Yeah.
And when the next morning, all the buses were burnt to crisp, and the bus depots, everything was fucked, and the government had to say, "Okay, guys, we get it. We still have to buy new buses now, but we understand." And they went right back down to the rate that it was because the people said...
You like the French style of protest.
Right, because here's what the French do. They get shit done. Historically, what do? Get shit done. In France, let's chop motherfuckers' heads off. It's time. Let's go. Guillotine time, baby. Let's roll with this shit. We're not half-assing it. And I respect it. I respect protesters. I respect revolutionary protests. And it does not necessarily mean violent. It just means you're willing to do whatever it takes to push
you're willing to do whatever it takes. Right. But like the non-violent thing where you were willing to go out and get for MLK, where they were willing to go out and get their ass beat and arrested and sometimes killed over and over and over again. Yeah.
Why? You know why
obvious.
why they did it to create sympathy on TV.
Yeah.
So we are going to.
They did it because white people, unless they realized that as MLK wrote from his letters from Birmingham jail, unless you put toothpicks in the white people's eyes and put them in a vice and make them watch the TV screen, they weren't going to do shit.
Especially moderate whites. Because MLK
exactly.
didn't care. Like, the racist white people was like, they're lost.
He
I don't
wrote
care.
them off.
It's whatever.
He ain't going to win.
Them.
Yeah.
But the moderates, the ones that say, well, there's a right way to go about this. You know, we got to trust the system.
It's bad that this is happening, but yeah, let it take some time, right? Yeah.
How do you feel about seeing people getting hosed and bitten with dogs on TV? How does that make you feel?
Beat down, and how do you feel about them riding through with clubs over the march over Selma Bridge?
Here's the only thing that white people had to do at that point. I guess we'll vote for something.
I guess we'll vote for somebody. Yeah,
that was it. That was the fullest extent.
That was the thing. He convinced two groups of white people, the voters and the politicians, that they needed to do something.
That's it.
About
We just got to vote for something.
Brilliant.
But that's the thing. How much trauma, pain, years of bullshit to just get white people to say we'll show up to vote. Compared to
vote
let's
the
get
right way. Yeah.
Let's get reparations figured out. Let's get income inequality figured out.
I mean, it's true. The concessions granted by the civil rights movement, getting black people, letting them vote, letting them attend the same schools, destroying segregations, were
below the
very minor. Yeah, very minor compared to we're taking a portion of your paycheck every month to give to black people. That's true. There's a big difference in that.
Right. That's the thing. It's like white people believe that, well, you know, we were all part of that movement and things changed. We just wanted you guys to consider us to be human beings. We didn't ask anything else. We didn't ask.
Yeah, it was about dignity and then equality.
And then what ends up happening every time when MLK wants to work on housing reform and stuff in Chicago, bullet in the face. When Huey Newton wants to have free lunch and breakfast programs for people in the city, and he's got white people and Latinos showing up with the Rainbow Coalition, what happens? I'm going to shoot you 100 times in your goddamn bed after we hired somebody to drug you. Fucked up shit.
Yeah. No, it's the money.
It's always the money.
When it comes down to the money, like, people are willing to do things that are for equality that don't, as you said, don't cost them things, right? It doesn't cost. It doesn't cost anyone anything to let gay people get married. Let's be real. It doesn't cost anyone who's not gay anything. But guess what? If those gay people start coming for wanting cash subsidies for something or other, oh no. That ain't gonna happen. Yeah. And so and that's the truth. And it's always been the truth. You can fight for and you can win equality as long as that equality costs the dominant group very little or nothing.
All right. Now, before we wrap this up, I don't want to go full tilt because I'm actually thinking we're going to do an episode called "The History of the World from Black People," which might be, I want to give a history lesson on all the ways that white people are not giving black people credit and just give you an alternative view of history. But when we were talking last night, because I was trying to let you know some stuff about the Hotep movement and certain things as far as the Americas and discovering the Americas, and I also sent you a video by an author who I keep forgetting his name, but he looks fucking like a psychopath. Did you do any more digging? And what you saw, based on that video or anything, was the stuff you had never heard before? Was it new stuff? What? Just give me your thoughts on what it is.
Yeah.
Break it down.
The Hotep. Okay, so I did some research on the Hotep movement. Not a huge amount. I'm by no means an expert, but I did just some basic Googling about it. I'd never heard of it before. And so I Googled it, Wikipedia'd it, read some articles about it, and watched the Hotep Jesus video. I didn't watch any of his other videos because I hated the guy. I just found the podcast boring. And I listened to one lecture from Mr. Magoo with a fine arts degree, history professor, who discussed African immigration to the Americas well before Columbus. And the central tenets of the Hotep movement, from what I understood to be the case, and I'm sure it's a fragmented movement with many different things, was that it stems from ancient Egypt, right? That's like they believed the ancient Egyptians were black. Some of them almost certainly were. Some of them were just brown people, and that they and they draw up, and they said that the black African population is drawn from the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, and that those ancient Egyptians moved to Middle and Central Africa, right, and West Africa, and then migrated over to the United States long before Columbus got here. And that the vast majority of the slaves in at least North America were not actually brought over on the transatlantic slave trade, but they were enslaved black people already living in America. And that as a corollary to that, all of the black people's accomplishments were written out of history by white people, not right now, but in the past. Right. So we don't know about those accomplishments or know very little about them, because they were all destroyed, and you know, that's where we are descended from kings and queens comes from the ancient Egypt stuff. And my initial thought on this was, well, I don't think it's accurate. And I looked at it, and there probably was a lot more immigration, trade and immigration from Africa to South America than I was aware of before I looked at this. Obviously, even if you just look at a map, you can see that South America and Africa are way fucking closer to each other geographically than North America and Europe. He said something
geographically that I didn't know, and it makes perfect sense. I just never thought about it. What U.S. state is actually closer to Africa?
Florida?
Maine.
What? Oh, Maine. Because it's further
west.
Because it's further west? Yep.
Yeah. Maine's the closest. And it's like, oh, wow, I'll feel like a fucking moron. But continue, sorry.
Yeah. Makes sense. So obviously, if you look at a globe, you can see how much closer that is. So it makes sense in retrospective of it. Descended from kings and queens. I mean, I guess if you go far back enough, maybe everyone's descended from kings or queens. I don't really. I don't know.
Especially in Europe, you're all inbred.
Who knows? I mean, maybe.
Especially the Irish.
Maybe. The Irish. Hey, we got raided by the Vikings just like everybody else. We got Scandinavian blood and English blood.
But I think the thing of it is that what I find so interesting about the Hotep thing, right, is that on surface level, when I was explaining any of this to you, you were very dismissive, at least initially. You were very dismissive initially. And then it's almost like, all right, well, this kind of goes against all the tenets of history that I've kind of learned.
Yeah, but I still think parts of it are not true, like the fact that most slaves were
100%. There's certain, but that's what history, right?
Yeah.
But what we do know for sure is that there is stuff that is not being explained. Some stuff purposely not being explained. Some stuff just lost to history books. But when you see the thing that I find most hilarious, and the guy who did the talk, if you guys haven't seen it, it's called Black Before Columbus Came, The African Discovery of America by Dan Von Howell. He does look like Mr.
You have to ignore his appearance because you want to not take him seriously.
But he's dropping
it's a good talk.
Dimes,
yeah,
right?
It's a good talk. But just
he's
ignore his
dropping
appearance.
dimes.
Yeah.
But there are other things with it. Is that like if one is to read the people that were on Columbus's ships, people that were there firsthand, and their accounts of stuff, is interesting as shit. How they say that, like, when they first got to the island that we now call Hispaniola, it was initially called, like, a variation of Guyana, or Ghana. And when you hear all the first people look out, and they're like, yeah, there were a lot of people, a lot of different races, but there were a lot of Africans. And they were telling about there was, like, the Africans apparently had been here for quite some time, and they were trading gold, which is not found in Hispaniola, but found in Africa, that were the same spears and stuff that were being used over in Africa for years and years before that. You also look at the aspect of things that... So there's even that, but we talk about the lost history, right? There is a show that everyone knows, because everyone's been high and they've watched Ancient Aliens at some point in fucking time. You're aware of Ancient Aliens, right? But you're aware of the show.
I'm aware of it. Yes.
The Olmecs in South America... The giant heads, that if you look at it, big fucking lips, wide nose, fairly flat, they look black as fuck. Instead of comprehending, for the last... We've known about the Olmecs for how long now? Century, long, whatever? Because they buried them.
A long time.
You remember, they were buried. They were also buried for a very long time. Once they uncovered, it is more prevalent...
It was...
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they were uncovered by whatchamacallit.
Was it limestone? I think it was something that... No, they're made of limestone,
they're covered.
which is also not found there. It's whatever. But there are more people in white America that believe that aliens came down from space and gifted the Mayans, the Aztecs, all this technology and all these things. They believe that more than they want to believe that Africans migrated from Africa to the Americas on boats and were able to actually do it. Why does ancient aliens exist? It's because I think conceptually it is hard for some people, white people in general, to acknowledge that black people could potentially be responsible for so much more than they want to give themselves credit for. Because like you were saying earlier, as far as where you were talking about evolutionary and species wanting to be around their own species because
my group is better than your group. Yeah, I got it.
Everyone wants to give themselves props. Historians do it too. Usually historians start with an idea or a fantasy. It's something that they have that can see themselves making the discovery based on something that they either genealogical or something. They want to find some sort of tie to themselves kind of experiencing or seeing things that happen historically, and they want to give their own people credit. It's the same reason why Italians still go to fucking bat for Columbus, for no goddamn reason. Do you want to feel as though your people have so much more importance in the history of the world?
I don't get that shit for Italians. Sure, they're not technically Romans anymore, but it's not like there's not a lot of fucking ancient history and not a lot of goddamn incredibly famous and influential Italians, even in the Renaissance, right? Come on now.
You think, right?
There's a lot to choose from. Yeah.
No, but we can't get rid of one of our own. We're gonna go back for him. Right?
We can't get rid of the genocidal lunatic. Why can't you kick out the genocidal lunatic? Sure, he was a good captain. He was a good captain of boats. That's much less important than the fact that he was a genocidal asshole.
But that's the thing, is like the more and more you start looking into, especially the Americas and in the things that they are finding in South America. Every time they do an expedition in the Amazon, which is a lot of people don't realize, there are so many swaths of South America that people haven't been to basically yet, that we have not explored fully. It's huge, and it's really hard to get through some of these fucking spots. And the thing is that because of jungles, and because of jungles, especially if you made things of wood or anything else, they don't survive for long periods of time that you can have an archaeological ruin really to find anything. So, but
very little metal, very little stone.
Right.
Yep.
But the more and more that they do this digging, the more and more that they're finding, like, yo, there were civilizations, it looks like in the Amazon, there were civilizations that had millions. Not a few 100,000, millions of people. That, and if you look at the art on any of the pyramids, inside the caves, any of this, you're starting to see that they were multicultural. And the idea that Africans were there and had been there for a very long period of time is something I think more people need to be comfortable with. And I do think white people are going to backlash hard against that. I think the entire history community, white people overall, that, like, when people talk about aliens coming down from space and what that's going to do with religion, when they find out that black people were responsible for so much more, and that Columbus and those assholes just genocided everybody.
Well, they already knew that.
They knew that as far as the natives. What they didn't know is that what Columbus might have done was killed a bunch of black people too.
Well, what difference would that make? He's already
makes a lot of difference.
He's terrible no matter what. I mean,
he's terrible no matter what.
He killed black people.
He's terrible no matter what. But the idea is also
he should still be canceled no matter what.
But also
from a historical accuracy standpoint, I understand. From an ethical standpoint, he's awful. Yeah.
But also from a historical standpoint, what was the number one weapon that Columbus and those assholes brought to South America?
Diseases. Which is a little different than like plundering, pillaging, and cut people's heads off. Even though they did that shit in plenty as well. They did that. They did plenty of that too. Yeah,
they did tons of that. But the idea that there might have been, and just hear me out, and we're going to leave this topic. Columbus was backed by whom?
Who was paying for his exploration? Was it?
It's the Queen of Spain.
It was Spain. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was Spain. He's Italian, but he was backed by Spain. Yep.
Lots of money. Lots of advertising, lots of marketing. Okay? Columbus, you discovered all this shit. You made sense of all this stuff. You're the one that's conquering the free world. You're doing all this kind of shit, bringing all this discovery and everything. You know what we're not going to do? Them Africans did not have anything to do with anything. It's us, baby. We did it. To me, there is a part of me that believes, you want to consider this conspiracy or whatever, I just call it selling a better story to get people to back or believe that your historical significance is a lot larger than it was. Because the idea that there have been hundreds, if not thousands of years of people going back and forth between Africa and fucking the United States makes Columbus seem like a fucking
not the United
chump.
States, South America.
Or,
They
sorry, South America,
migrated
the
up.
Americas. The Americas. Makes it seem like Columbus was a fucking chump. So for when did Columbus Day, we finally started coming around the Columbus thing, 20 years ago? At most?
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time. And we live in a state called the District of Columbia. And a district rather. And I agree there's some of it, but I don't think it's a grand conspiracy. I just think the Spain had serious financial incentives to make it clear that serious financial and prestige and incentives to make it clear that they were the first over there. And also, I don't think they cared very much about sub-Saharan Africa back then. Like, I mean, even now, we often dismiss sub-Saharan Africa terribly, awfully. But I think back then, because of the differences in travel and communications and whatnot, they wouldn't have cared whatsoever if black people were there first, because they didn't really consider them people.
Columbus is clueless as fuck. He shows up, he's calling
Columbus thought
everybody
he was in
Indians.
India.
Right.
Yeah.
He's clueless as shit.
He thinks he's Indian.
He doesn't know anything about Africans. He doesn't know goddamn thing. Unless you were one of the northern African countries on the fucking Mediterranean, he doesn't know you exist.
Which, of course, they knew a lot about them, because that was part of the Mediterranean world.
But beyond that, he doesn't know a goddamn thing. So he
didn't know a goddamn thing,
But that's the thing. When you listen to Columbus's reports, when you listen to the Queen and everybody over there talk about it, they don't mention the Africans. They do not mention running into Africans in the Caribbean. They don't mention it. It feels as though they go out of their way to not mention it. And that's when you go to the first-hand accounts.
The deliberate, like, we got to suppress the African thing. No, I think they definitely did suppress the African thing, but I think it was deliberate in that they were trying to play up their own contributions, but I just don't think they cared enough to deliberately suppress the African things. Now, at some point, they absolutely did, right? But that, I think, came later. And that was during the period of colonization of Africa, when the Europeans actively did try to suppress African history.
But I think it's further than that, because I go back to way before then, BC. I go to Kemet, I go to ancient Egypt, I go to Hippocrates coming to Kemet to learn about disease. Now, some of them did a really good job giving Africans or giving Egyptians credit for basically being the makers of everything. But we also know Upper and Lower Egypt. Upper Egypt is what? Further south. It follows the flow of the Nile River. The further inland to Africa you go, what happens? It gets black as fuck. So, further south you go. It gets blacker.
I don't actually know if it gets inland from the sides, if they get any black. I have no clue.
No, it's basically everything from up there. You're right. If you go south anywhere, it's blacker, right? And I'm just saying, there is a lot of shit that seems as though, because you have historians can only go based off of what it is they see physically, evidence-wise and everything. And majority of the time, the evidence is written. And if it's only written by people that back then, whether it be the Queen of Spain with her financial interest or whatever, then you can only really hypothesize about so much. You can't even expand your horizons to think about things beyond that, because it doesn't fit your narrow viewpoint. And if that's the case,
but in the ancient world, there's, as far as I can tell, no evidence that they looked down on the Africans. Right? Carthage was a world power. The Egyptians were, as you mentioned, looked up to by the Greeks, and the Romans desperately wanted to conquer Egypt because it was so fucking rich.
I mean, sort of. You got crusades and other things to kind of say.
I'm talking about the really ancient world, like from the classical period.
But my thing, it's less to do with denigrating or downplaying another person's contributions as it is to upplaying yours.
Upplay your own. And everyone did that.
But that's the thing. If you upplay your own for enough time historically, you've completely erased everybody else's contribution.
Yes, for sure.
These are the only thing that survives. And I do believe in the Hotep movement as far as that there are a lot more contributions to civilization, Western civilization, because that's all those neo-Nazis ever talk about, right? If it wasn't for us, you guys would still be living in fucking mud huts or whatever the fuck. And it's like, no,
yeah,
assholes.
that's the white man's burden.
But it's the same thing. Anytime the Hoteps say, well, we were kings and queens, you get a collective sigh from white America to say, oh, come on. All I see is you guys in the back of Toyota Tacomas in Somalia. Get the fuck over yourself. Like, that's what they say.
No, I just sigh because it seems like it's an understandable impulse to say, you know, as a race, our contributions to world society history have been destroyed, denigrated, played down for centuries. But it seems to me like an overreaction. I mean, some people are just saying, and maybe it's just because, like, I'm different because I'm largely of Irish ancestry. But it's like
the Negroes of Europe.
Give two shits. I don't give. Yeah, I mean, that kind of are right. But I don't give two shits if I'm descended from a king or a queen, unless that shit comes with fucking money. Unless that shit comes with money.
But I think that's the fundamental difference between white and black people in America that I don't think white people will ever be able to comprehend. Is that what it feels like when they talk about your genealogy, and when they talk about how because of slavery everything's just kind of lost. Like the idea that if you wanted to, you could trace and go back and look historically through who you are and what your people have done. I can't go
I could
so
probably
far.
Find the village in Ireland that my ancestors
the first siblings
from.
fucked each other and created the offspring, right? Like you can do that.
First cousins, come on now.
Whatever. I can't do that. And what that does to a person's psyche, just as a human being, makes you feel less than. When people do complete... Now, in grand scheme of things, I don't feel less than. It's almost a subconscious thing. There is a subconscious feeling of, well, unless there's proof. The ancient Greeks have this, the Europeans talk about this, the British talk about empire and conquest. There's all these grand accomplishments. We were giving the French all this credit for the revolutions and stuff, right? And then when we talk about Africans and blacks, it's like, well, you guys suffered for a long time. Like, it's just like, okay.
Unfortunately, that's true. That's
the only
we
thing.
shouldn't just talk about that. Yeah.
We talk about how blacks turn all that pain into art. It's like, well, come on, we're more than that. We're a lot more than that. And it's like, and the thing is that while I understand the idea,
you get reduced to your suffering and your struggle to overcome that instead of
right. And while I do understand you do believe that it's a overreaction, I actually think that 50 to 100 years from now, the way we think about things and how they unfolded will be so drastically different than what it is we think now. And I think that what they're doing as far as learning as far as technology, especially in South America, what they're able to do with a lot of the overhead thermal scanning and stuff of areas, that to me, when they start pulling up motherfucking. I'm saying, I just think, but I also think in the same regard that you're going to have these 50 or 100 years where it's completely look different, it's going to be a really tough 50 to 100 years because of everybody that's going to want to downplay it. Not necessarily because from a racial standpoint, but downplay it because it kind of spits in the face of everything that they've learned or known for so long. And there's always slow movement.
Possible. It's always slow movement on that. It's a new ideas. They don't want to admit they were wrong and so forth. And we'll definitely learn stuff. I'm excited to see about the history we learned.
Oh, we won't be allowed.
Again, as a whatchamacallit, as a white dude, like it's one of those things where maybe it's just the privilege. I have the privilege where I just don't really give a shit about my history beyond living memory. It's just like like my dad did the DNA test thing, and we saw it, and I showed it to you, and it was like, well, what do you know? It confirmed the fact that we're really fucking white. Whoop-de-doo.
But when if you start doing some digging, and especially even Native Americans in North and South America, and how they do not look at things as far as race, never really looked at things from a racial standpoint ever. That's not what made you Cherokee or Choctaw or anything. Was your race? It was where you were among the land. Who you were around among the land, and the more and more they start doing digging, the more and more they're realizing just how much of a hodgepodge there were of people from all over.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. They thought of the really they just thought of as Americans, Native Americans, whether they were North, South, Central, fucking Inuits up north, as all the same race. Where obviously it's a big fucking continent, big fucking two continents. There's going to be a wide variation, a huge variation And in fact, you know what? I'd be almost. In fact, no, you're not what I'm.
What are you gonna say?
I'm.
You just self-censored.
Not just 90. No, because I'm trying to gauge how I was going to underestimate my certainty. I am like 99.999% certain. I was going to say 90. That their variation in appearance between the natives in America pre-Columbus was so much greater than the variance in appearance between all of goddamn Europe that it's like vast. Like now, do I know that off the top of my head? No, that's why I left myself that tiny little percentage point. Yeah,
but I'm willing to just trust like logic to tell me that is 100% true. And I also and I'm also using logic to say the proximity between Africa and the Americas make it so that I have 100% certainty that we were here. And then beyond that, I have 100% certainty that there were a lot of black Africans in that mix.
I pulled up a because I was just Googled it some pictures of current day indigenous Brazilians, and they look a lot more like black people than they do look like. They look a lot more like black people than they do what we think of as modern day American Indians from the United States, right? Like way more like black people than those people do. Yep. All right, but I have to go because I've got my recovery.
There was nothing really on the entertainment thing. We didn't watch any of the shows. In sports, fuck sports. It's just basketball.
There's not much happened. LeBron James got injured. I hope he gets well soon.
Dan Snyder News was kind of fun. But you can listen to Dish Divided for that. All right, guys. This has been episode 6 of the Extraordinary Nobodies. Everybody take it easy. Bye.
Have to call Kadeen. He's crashed.
How the fuck did he go? He's calling me on the phone.
Everyone can hear the technical difficulties. Buddy. Have you crashed? Because mine's still working.
No, I'm still here.
I'm working perfectly. Let me check to make sure everything's going. Let's check another website.
No, it was me.
It was you? Yeah, look, I'm working fine. I'm getting on other websites and whatnot.
Yep, no, it's definitely me.
Come back.
Try.
So I can mock you again. I'm hanging up now. Come here, Olive. Do you want to say hello? This is Olive. She's a good girl. She is. She's got her little wishbone. She is a good girl and she likes to be petted. She is very fluffy. Where are you going, Olive? Did you get your petting? Yes, you did. Good girl.
It's like literally since I made the complaint about your internet, mine is absolutely gone to shit. It's not that it's slow.